And I'm going to go ahead and make this point. I was going to make it while I was talking, then it slipped my mind. It's the point concerning as far as like the spread of pottery, for example, like a Lahu Radera or even a Magar of Pakistan. You trace the distance between either one of those two. Let's start with Lahu Radewa of Uttar Pradesh of northeastern India. From that particular site all the way to like Yucatan, for example. Now, holding that particular point right there. Now, Kishra, like I said, I was going to bring him up to also make the point clear. So I forgot to do it. Now, Kishra came from Al-Hassa. That's all the way at the fucking end of Eastern Arabia. During his lifetime, he made it all the way to Nigeria and fucking Africa. All right? Don't have to go through the whole of the story again, 529, etc. 629, etc. But he made it all the way into motherfucking Nigeria within just his lifetime. Definitely during his children's lifetime. You know what I mean? Now, if you look at the distance of Nigeria all the way to Eastern Arabia, now, bringing up my point, you compare that distance to Lahu Radewa to, let's just say, Yucatan, I keep saying Yucatan or whatever in China. Now, the difference is Kishra made it that far during his lifetime and even at the latest by his fucking children's lifetime. Okay? Now, that's not beyond even a fucking 100 years. All right? Considering that distance again. Nigeria all the way to Eastern Arabia. Now, go to Yucatan. Yucatan to Lahu Radewa. It's even a much greater distance as far as the period. You're talking 3,000 years. You trying to tell me metapopulations of persons didn't make it somehow into, you know what I'm saying, some of those sites, and not even just those sites with the earliest pottery. You got to think about the sites before those, the ones that even the ones that have completely rotted away. You know what I'm saying? These are just the remnants that survived. So, and thinking about Kishra's travels, and that's less than 100 years, of course, how come in 3,000 years it would be like unthinkable or unfathomable or unreasonable for that to be a reality that people have definitely made it as far as like a Lahu Radewa and etc. You know what I'm saying? Between that 3,000 year period, thus that helps explain the cord-like designs, that similarity there. Again, considering the distance, but again, that time gap, 3,000 years. And what I said about like certain things that become lost in history. Again, Onesimas, the particular societies that knew how to do that or what have you, for whatever reason, the shit wasn't documented in cement or in writings or what have you. The history of that became lost. And it would have remained that way if Osimas never lived or his dynamic didn't take place the way it did within his lifetime. That's the only reason, because of that great intimation. Actually, that great fact of his know-how within itself, thus the intimation based on what he has mentioned of how he knew how to do that. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for him, he still, like, the credit would be much further down the line to somebody else. You know, see what I'm saying? So, luckily, an awareness of that history has been made, basically. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't say, I don't think nobody's ever going to come forward, any type of popular historian, especially if it hasn't been the case up to this point, that came forward and said, I don't think that's entirely true. He may not even have said that. Nobody has ever made that point, so definitely he's not lying. Why the fuck would he make that up in the first place? I'm just saying, shit like that has happened. So dynamics like that definitely exist. To me, that's a part of history. I call that, like, to me, that's a part of what I like to call history's mysteries. You know what I'm saying? Not just the seven wonders of the world, it's a whole bunch of other shit. But even great hints like that, anecdotal hints like that, I also include things like that in such category as well. You know what I'm saying? Because even though it's like a hint, it's very rich in knowledge. So, those populations, like in Africa, for example, they had the oldest pottery. I believe that was in Algeria. Those populations, as well as some of those people along Pakistan and some of those caves, there's an explanation to that. It's just that a lot of shit gets lost in history, withered in history, not sufficiently documented in history, etc. You know what I'm saying? But there's an explanation for it. And I think the explanation is meta-populations. Again, just because meta-populations move doesn't mean that it's always going to end up being a sufficient number of them in a particular area. Doesn't always mean that there are more ways and ways of living that they have gained generationally is going to continue to last the test of time. Even the influences that they may have made on other surrounding populations, sort of close to them, or somewhat far from them, where they go hunt at or whatever the case may be. Shit gets lost. So I think that's an explanation to that as well. Make sure I ain't forgetting nothing. Oh yeah, one more thing. Yeah, what I was saying, like scientific articles that you gotta actually read and shit. How you can't get all that through just Wikipedia articles, because a lot of that type of stuff they haven't made a Wikipedia article for it yet, because some of it's fairly new publishing. You know what I'm saying? So, for example, Kwalat Said Amadane. You could Google that site, you could Google Shemshara, or you could Google the third one. There are no specific or particular or tailored articles on Wikipedia for any one of those sites. You have to read the direct scientific publishings of those sites. They don't have a Wikipedia article for those yet. That's what I was trying to say. So, again, Lahu, Radewa, Yakatan, and many other things that I'm going to bring up, and all kind of shit that, you know what I'm saying, part of my process in the first place all the time. Nigga, you're not going to read that. You're not going to, like what I've noticed, like the rectangular shapes and the similarities between residencies and what I mentioned about the Angazal life-size statues, and how, thematically speaking, many of the terracotta figurines in that region during that time, definitely after it, and somewhat predating the 7th millennium BC as well, they generally look like those figurines. That's due to meta-populations and the way that they create their art, and that influencing other people as well. Basically, whatever circles that they go in. I think that's how all that happens. But again, I didn't read that in no articles. I just see the facts as they're published, and then the homework on the facts and shit, like genetic codes and all that type of shit, where these people were found at, the size, all that, the statistics of these facts as well. So that's what I was reading. But I was noticing these similarities. And again, nobody says, well, these rectangular shapes, these people over here has the same thing, therefore they were influenced. No, nobody made that. That's my observation. So all this shit is what I'm saying. So that's what I was saying when I said shout out to Umar Johnson as far as the particular part that I like. Of course, the funny shit in the video too. But hell yeah. So yeah, these just, again, you know what I'm saying? Just things that I'm going to mention in my Negrito blog, which is still coming. You know what I'm saying? It's very fucking soon. So hopefully I ain't forgetting nothing else.